All right, everyone, welcome to the Real Estate Game Changers Show. I'm your host, Mike McKay, based in the Jacksonville, Florida market. And each and every week, we do this show with people who are changing the game of real estate all over the country. And this is a live show. So if you have any questions, please put them in the comments for our guests to answer. Also, if anyone is in the Jacksonville area and you're working in sales and you're thinking about getting into real estate, we're looking for some new salespeople for our team. So if you want to get into real estate and you're good at sales, send me a DM on Instagram. This week on the show, we've got Jacob Klein. Jacob, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Definitely excited to have another good conversation with you.
Cool, man. Well, for the people who don't know you, can you tell us about how you got into the real estate business and how that's led you to where you are today?
Sure, that's probably about everybody in the world. I'm pretty pretty low key, but maybe some people here in the local market. But yeah, I got into real estate business about 5 years ago, and really before that, what I was doing was I was in the vape industry, so e-cigarettes and that type of thing. We were manufacturing kind of a niche handmade product, and did really well in that business for like the market share that we could get. It was just really small market for the product, and um, you know how I even heard about real estate investing was I was listening to Grant Cardone like sales training on
Hmm.
YouTube, and really got into kind of like listening to his like sales training calls on YouTube and stuff like that, and the suggested videos on YouTube and stuff relating to real estate. I started getting into that. I think I saw some like Max Maxwell stuff, like the typical stuff from 2019, 2020.
Hmm.
And I think what I did was just start cold calling courthouse records, and got a deal pretty quickly. Like in the first couple months, I found a place and made a $25,000 fee on the first deal that I ever locked up, and I probably sold it for less than what I should have. I wish I had kept it. Looking back now, it was like a crazy steal. But yeah, I mean, on that first deal, I remember just like it's now it seems so stupid, but I would literally go drive by that property every day while I had it under contract, and just for no other reason than like just being obsessed with it. I'm like, man, I just want to go drive by it, like I wasn't even buying it. Just crazy. And then I did that with a couple other properties, just being a nut. And that was the first deal. And then after that, kind of did more of the same, just cold calling. And I'd done a lot of cold calling, to get my vape product into stores and distributors and stuff like that. So I was pretty decent on the phone, and probably sounded like an idiot. And I mean, I would bug the crap out of people, like double, triple call people that, the property that I really wanted to lock up. And um, yeah, met some friends by doing that also too, like here in the local market,
Huh.
which is interesting.
Yeah. And then, so you got into it just wholesaling at the beginning, or?
Yeah, yeah, 100% wholesaling. I mean, um, pretty much. I mean, I was like scared to buy anything, I
Hmm.
think. And really looked closely at buying stuff and then would just wholesale it, and kind of like the analysis paralysis. Like looking back, if I knew what I know now, like I would have bought everything I locked up,
Hmm.
and probably flipped it. But yeah, I definitely just wholesaled everything in the beginning. And I think, the first deal that I technically took down was with a partner.
Hmm.
Um, you probably heard about that deal of like a 20 house package deal with that I did with Kyle.
Yeah, I did.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so a local guy in our market. Kyle Paskowitz, who I look up to quite a bit, he partnered with me on a package of 20 houses, and we, worked on getting the tenants out when the leases came up, and renovated, sold them, and yeah, that like really inspired me to want to flip,
Mm,
because I saw how like seamless their team was by them having everything in house. I think they had all their everybody that worked on their stuff was in house employees, and I was just really inspired from like seeing how well that worked for them. Um, so yeah.
gotcha. So that was the point when you decided that you wanted to build out the flipping side of the business.
hmm Yeah, I knew that. I knew at that point that that was like the goal,
Mm,
for sure. Like, at least to, be able to take down properties and renovate them. So whatever
yeah.
that would be, hold them for rentals too. Um, I was a lot hotter on rentals in the beginning than I am now.
Sure,
After you've been in it for a couple of years, like that couple $100 a month in cash flow is just, not too attractive for the
sure.
headaches that come with it. Um, but yeah, I actually remember like asking at a local networking event, like a Q&A. I asked Kyle, like kind of in front of a bunch of people, like there's probably 100 people in the room. And I asked him, I was like, what do you suggest for anybody who's trying to build an in-house construction team? And like pretty much everybody in the room laughed, you know? And at that point, like I felt so embarrassed, I felt like, you know, everybody's like, that's crazy. What are you even thinking about doing? And
Mm.
his response to that was, basically like gear up or something like that. Like basically saying it's really hard to do, and that definitely gave me some motivation to do it. And I mean that's where I am today. That's the way I'm able to flip, what we do. So.
Did you immediately like start building everything in house, or did you do some projects where you were subbing stuff out, or did you just like swing for it right away?
No, it was actually right away that I
Wow.
had like from the beginning, like I had from people that I met from cold calling actually. Like I met a
Mm,
couple friends from cold calling that were investors, and we ended up just meeting up and getting coffee because they were like, "Man, this kid's like on it," and like they gave me some pointers, and then eventually one of those guys had one of his like handyman people that was looking for work, and I took him on, and like had this one like 60-year-old guy like do an entire renovation for me at one time. And like yeah, like the first like three flips that I did was like literally one person doing the whole job, um, you know and I had no idea how much I was spending. I mean, just doing it. And yeah, I mean, obviously that's the key to anything is just like jump in and do
hmm.
it. I mean, looking back, that's obviously stupid, like what I did. But I mean, that's how I got into it. So even if I lost money on those first three, it's worth it all day long, you know.
Yeah.
So
What were because I think at this point, at least when we met last time, I think you said you had like 20 something construction guys on your team.
well, I mean, if you count kind of everybody that we use,
Mhm.
that's it. I would say probably closer to like 15 that are like working every day, you know,
Okay,
um, consistently just doing different stuff for us. It's not like everybody's W-2,
sure.
but it's like pretty much we have them as our guys, and when they don't have something to do from the last job, we send them to the next one. Um,
Yeah.
so,
What are some of the challenges that came up along the way with building the operation to that size?
man, a lot. I mean, I would say looking back now, just like the amount of time that I've spent like working on that myself, like my
Mm,
time, as opposed to like building out the acquisition side. I mean, yeah, I mean it's just clear cut that like you know somebody like you and me, our best use of our time is like analyzing deals, approving offers, and that side of things. And
Hmm.
like I'm, you know, not saying it's wasted time to build the in-house construction because it made things to where now it's just plug and play and it's really easy,
Mm.
to just put a flip in the machine. And like, I mean, lately I haven't had to go to any projects. I mean, they're just done, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of like actual struggles with that, I mean, I've had people like steal a lot from me.
Mm.
Um, by either having a company credit card or having access to like charge on the Home Depot account, or having tools that I bought for them. Um, you know, Obviously people having drug issues, and just not being reliable. Obviously people doing terrible quality work and having to redo it. That's
Mm. Sure.
that's a part of the game. But yeah, I mean, I've had to learn just about everything,
Yeah.
from mistakes or stuff coming up on inspection that I thought we did it the right way. And I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, like the inspection list items have like been, they're annoying, right? But like it helps so much to know next time that like can't leave this undone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What like what are some things that you put in place? Like, obviously there can be issues if people have access to like company cards or Home Depot. Like,
Mm.
how do you handle that now to make sure that, you know, materials are actually going to the site?
Yeah. I mean, I guess doing audits, I mean, and like for the most part, I keep a track of like our books every day. So like
Mm.
we have somebody, since like there's so much coming in and going out, since it's not like we're just sending 20K deposit to a contractor,
Yeah.
and then 20K when it's done. It's like we're having like tens of thousands of dollars, like sometimes a day going
Mm.
out. So keeping that like keeping the books like really clean where I'm able to see like every day what happened, the
Mm.
previous day. So, and like, does it make sense that our, all in went from this amount to this amount this week?
Mm.
Um, so I'm sure there's things that could happen, and you just can't, like, once you get to a certain point, like you can't be focused on like the details so much.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary to think about it,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you have do the guys on your team source all the materials, or do you have someone who just their entire job is to do that, or how does that all work?
no, no, like we'll have, like, I pretty much like have vetted and trust the people who are like running crews now,
Yeah.
and they will charge on accounts and pick up material. So every day they're going to Depot or Lowe's like a couple times,
Hmm.
um, and yeah, they're sourcing the material. And basically, they know what the scope is day one, and they'll ask me like a couple questions about what do we do with this one-off thing or this thing, and then they just roll with it, and you know update pictures along the way, and yeah.
Yeah. If you were gonna do it like again, building a construction team from the beginning, what would you change?
Oh, buddy, I would say,
Just
you
the
know,
top few. We don't have 10 hours, but
no, yeah, exactly. I mean, really, really, I would say like, you know, probably finding somebody who has their own crew and just working with them, and like
Mm.
somebody who has the experience themselves, and then understand that, like, okay, yes, I'm paying a little bit more here in the beginning, but this person has the potential to build more crews, and then they are the project manager. and whatever.
Mm,
They're making some extra money, but at the same time, they're the project manager. So,
yeah,
I'd find somebody with one or two crews and um, help them build out more. Um,
yeah.
so,
Would would you keep them as a vendor? Would you bring that person like, you know, working for your company directly or?
I mean, ideally, you would have them in house, to give them like the stability and at the same time, show them that like we appreciate them and everything. I'd prefer to basically have anybody in house because the odds of anything bad happening is just lower because you know
Mm,
I think any issues with the contractor is basically like, okay, screw you, I'll go get some other work. You know,
sure.
um, which as of late, I mean, I can tell that a lot of these guys are hurting, for work. Um, it's definitely interesting as opposed to a year or two ago where I mean you just couldn't get anybody to do anything.
Yeah. How did you find people during that time? Because it was tough.
Um, I mean, most of the time it's from like somebody that I know. You know,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, we hired some from like online job posts and stuff like that, but not great luck from that.
Mm,
Um, it's been more like, hey, my buddy's been looking, and then we just bring them on for a couple of days, see how they do, and mainly if their attitude's good, we're good.
yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Like what else are you kind of looking for when you're hiring people onto your construction team?
I mean, obviously you got a truck. You got like a truck to do whatever we need to do. Like you pick up material occasionally. Um, somebody that has. It depends on what it exactly is for, but some extensive amount of experience. Um, I mean, really, like I'm not vetting people like crazy on the front end. It's more just like I'll throw them on a job with like one of my more experienced guys and just see how they interact. And like, you know, worst case scenario, like they show up and my guys can tell within 4 hours that it's not going to work and you're done.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know,
Paying for the
so
day. And then
yeah, right.
yeah.
I mean, that's happened so many times. You
Mm,
know, of just trying it out. And then you find somebody that find somebody that's really good, and I mean it's worth its weight in gold for sure.
yeah. What else would you change looking back as you were building it?
Mm, uh, I mean, I probably do. I'd probably get into new construction.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
that's definitely something that's like it just makes sense to me. But I mean, obviously we're flipping, so that's not where we're at right now. But I mean, I've done some like putting some new mobile homes on land, and that's done all right.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I would say getting into new construction, like building a relationship with some kind of GC who can at least like pull permits to do that
Sure.
type of thing,
Yeah.
or even partnering with somebody who's just going to handle that whole side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. We were talking a little bit offline too before we came on about like some personal struggles too that you had
Mhm.
kind of had along your journey. Do you want to share a little bit about those?
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. So, kind of going back to like when I started in real estate, I mentioned that I was in the e-cig business before, and kind of rewinding back behind that. So, just kind of to give a rough timeline, when I started in real estate, I was about 20, 21, 22.
Hmm.
And I started in the e-cig stuff when I was probably 18, 19. Um, Rewind even further than that, I grew up playing golf and was pretty good. Ended up getting a scholarship at UNF, and you know, kind of through my teenage years and stuff, experimented with like drugs and alcohol.
Mm,
And kind of in the beginning there, I realized that there was something a little different with how much I liked it, as opposed to the people that I was like hanging around. Like they'd be able to kind of cut it off, and I wouldn't. You know,
mm,
and basically that just continued from just starting drinking, like smoking a little weed, and then to like pills, and building a dependence on it, to where like I would be in bad shape if I didn't have it.
mm,
And all of this was kind of at the same time as like 16, 17 years old. And I, at this same time was like playing really good golf and, committed to UNF on scholarship. And kind of after that, after I got that scholarship, I like, thought, okay, it's time to celebrate. And that just kind of never ended, you know, um, like I just can't stop when I start. So, some really dark places there of where it got to, like my using and everything. And once I went up to UNF, like it was like the first time being alone and stuff, like living in the dorms, and I was just going crazy with it, just completely out of control. And next thing I knew, I was getting in trouble. Um, Basically what had happened was I was at a kid's house and saw that, obviously was hanging around, a pretty rough crowd.
mm,
And I was hanging around with the kid who was, selling weed. And I saw that, he got a delivery from somebody with like a bunch. And, at that point, my mind is kind of just like the only um, track was like more drugs, basically. Like wake up in the morning, okay, where is it? 2 hours
mm,
later, where is it? Um, so, at this point, I was definitely hanging around people who would do sketchy things, and um, I had a conversation with somebody about, you know, this kid just got a bunch of stuff at his house, and um, you know, we basically came up with the plan that he was going to go get it. And what ended up happening was they like kicked in this guy's garage door with guns and like legitimately just robbed them, you know. And long story short, I was got in trouble for that as like accessory to home invasion.
mm,
Um, that's like at 19, that's where I was at. Um, and kind of saw them one by one getting picked off, and like brought in, questioned, arrested, and it was like one happened, the first week, and then 2 weeks later, 2 weeks later, and there were five of us, and I was the last one. So it was just like, during that time, I was just like really bad off, just kind of like blacked out all the time, and you know really bad place. At that point, I had gotten kicked off the golf team at UNF for failing drug tests, and yeah, I mean that's where I was. And once I finally got in trouble, that's that's what happened. I ended up going to a treatment center, like straight from getting released from jail, and clearly that's what I needed at that point. And I mean, it took me months to get right, like mentally.
mm,
Um, and 9 months after I was released on like bail, there's this whole case going on. I ended up getting sentenced to prison time. Um, so at 19, I went to Florida State Prison and did a year for this whole thing. the accessory to home invasion. And going from golf star as a kid to this was just like, man, like this is just, I mean, I think really more than anything, I was just in survival mode. Like it didn't really seem like reality. I was just like kind of pushing through.
Hmm.
Um, Definitely was tough. Um, and I did stay sober through and all that. I stayed sober for about 2.5 years. Um, and I mean, that's the root of all this is like the drug and alcohol addiction, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess kind of long story short, like I ended up getting out. That's when I started that vape business. Um, I did it a little bit before, like while I was on like bond before, like I went to got sentenced and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, that's when I started the vape thing, and yeah, I mean and then from there, kind of like was in that for probably about a year and a half, um, and then got into real estate after that. Um, So, I mean, and I haven't been sober since that. There's been continued struggles since that first time that I got in trouble. Um, I've had two more stints of sobriety since then, and today I'm 2.5 years sober, and probably in the best place I've been. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, that's probably a lot, but that's kind of how I've gotten to where I'm at, man.
Yeah.
It's been a ride for sure.
Was there, I mean, I'm sure there were a lot of them, but like what lessons did you kind of personally take away from that that maybe helped you in other areas of your life?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question for sure. I think you know being involved in like recovery is probably where I've pulled the most positives, because
Mm.
that's like a huge portion of my life. And going to like recovery support meetings and stuff like that. I've met like some of the most stand up people that I've ever met in my life. That have similar backgrounds to myself. Been in jail, prison, a bunch. I mean, just like been homeless. I mean, and now like are doing amazing. Um, in terms of lessons that I learned, I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is living life one day at a time. You
Mm.
know, that's like one of the big like cliche things that you hear in one of those programs is one day at a time, and that's really all we can control. And like staying in the present is kind of like the thing that I've always tried to work on since like playing golf at a high level. And, that's what that's all about too. Is being in the present moment, not
Mm.
letting anything 10 minutes ago or 10 minutes in the future affect what's going on right now. It's incredibly difficult to do, like really. So I'd say that's probably the biggest one, that I've pulled away. Um, yeah, and I mean, generally, like I would say, like recovery has taught me, to do things that make me uncomfortable,
Mm.
you know, and generally that's like going to lead to some kind of positive result. Like some sort of like short term discomfort is going to lead to like some kind of long term gain.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
What are some tactics or techniques you use to stay in the present? I mean, I think that's something I personally struggle with all the time. My mind's always in,
Yeah,
la la land.
I think I'm right there with you for sure. Um, I think the only thing that I've found that really works is trying to just redirect like thoughts,
Mm.
because when you talk about being the present, that's what it is. It's like thoughts, like
Yeah.
where's my mind at? Um, so try to redirect and just handle what's like right in front of me.
Mm.
Um, Maybe just change what I'm doing, possibly.
Mm.
Um, yeah, just generally kind of redirect. I mean, I wish I could say, like I go into my meditation room and, turn on the soothing sounds, but that's just not reality. You know,
Yeah.
um, I'd love to be there or have the time to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So like when you say redirecting, is that just like you mean taking your focus off that thought and just bringing it to something in front of you? Is that what you mean by
yeah,
that, or a little different,
yeah.
or
I
okay,
think that's what I'm talking about.
okay,
Like what I think of when I think of like staying present is just like having that thought, like, you
mm,
can apply that like 1 day at a time thing to like 1 minute at a time or like 1 second at a time. Um, that's what people say when it's like really tough in recovery is like, you just take it 1 minute at a time. Like I know I can make it through this minute, you know, and then you do the next one and the next one, and you're going to forget about it, eventually.
sure, yeah,
So it's going to pass, like it's going to get better. Um, so yeah.
yeah. Um, at what point did you decide? Because I know like you started like the construction side of the business, but well, for the people who know you locally, at least know that you're pretty big into doing mobile homes. At what point did you decide to jump in that, and why did you make that decision?
I didn't really make like a decision to do it. It's just kind of like what was coming in. I mean, I don't think I really realized like the actual volume of mobile homes that I was doing until, you know, like a year or two, like down the line. Um,
Hmm,
it's interesting. I mean, I was doing a lot of marketing like in St. Johns County, and I mean, I think it's just known that St. John's is tough. Um, and what naturally kind of came was mobile homes.
hmm,
Um, I guess that's just what ended up coming in, or what had these motivation factors. Um, but when I think about it, I think probably my first like 3 or 4 flips were mobile homes. And
hmm,
before that, I was wholesaling a bunch of them. More than half for sure. And like in my total amount of flips, I would say 80% have been mobile homes.
yeah.
You know, um, yeah. So definitely the
So,
trailer king, as some say.
so were you just like kind of pulling like the court list and the distress list, and that's just what happened to come back in when you sent out your marketing? You weren't like narrowing it down. It was just like that's who called, and maybe
That
I guess
yeah,
that's who was on that list, or a lot of it was maybe.
yeah. I mean, in the beginning, that's really what it was. I mean, that's all I knew to do. Really
Hmm.
was pull like official record stuff, and that's what ended up coming in. I mean, of course, you get leads of stuff that's like everything else, and like stuff that's close to being a deal. That's other stuff. But I mean, I think I'm pretty conservative too, like on underwriting. Like I'm never gonna buy a flip that's like 80% minus repairs. You
Yeah.
um, which yeah, I mean, I don't know what's normal or if I'm crazy or what, but like I'm pretty much at 70% minus repairs, like or less on everything.
Yeah.
Um, and and that's with conservative ARV. So I think naturally, like I'm gonna get beat out like on a lot of offers just because of that. Like I'm sure a lot of people that would take an 80% deal,
Hmm.
because whatever they look at that number you can make, like, oh, I can make $20,000 on this deal, but it's
Hmm.
like what's wrapped up in that, like what's the value of like our whole business here.
Yeah. Yeah. How has your marketing shifted over the years? Because I mean, a lot of people have entered the market, things have changed.
Yeah, yeah, man. I mean, I've done like a lot of mail, really, um, really forever. A lot of mail.
So
And
you got out of the cold calling pretty quickly because you were
yeah, I
doing.
mean, the only cold calling that I've really done was like when I cold called myself, you know,
Ah, okay. Yeah.
yeah, in like the real beginning. And
Mm,
then, I got into like a coaching group with Ryan Dossie. I don't know if you know who
Mhm.
he is.
Yeah.
Um, he owns Ballpoint Marketing, and started using those like machine handwritten letters in the
Hmm.
beginning, and I mean they're really expensive, but um, yeah, have used a lot of that type of stuff, and now using some less expensive pieces. Um, but yeah, a lot of mail. I mean, recently I've been trying to figure out what other stuff we can do to generate deals. Um, you know, TV, paper lead, um, like some PPC, SEO. I mean, we tried a bunch of stuff, and it's as you know, like when you try a marketing channel, like you really got to give it like 6 months, not three, like six. Because I mean, if you gave mail a try, the first 3 months, you're going to be like, "What am I doing?" This is terrible. And then like 6 months, you're probably like, oh, "Okay, I mean, this is like borderline worth it." And then 12 months, it's like, "Ooh, yeah, this is pretty sweet." You know, just because the life cycle is so long. Like I've just recently started tracking those kind of KPIs, and it's like, holy crap, man! Like you know, such a small percentage of our deals come from like the first 2 weeks of having the league, or even the first month. It's like all follow up deals.
Really? Even with your mail leads?
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
and I think that has to do with like our underwriting. We get a lot of
Maybe.
deals. We get well. If other investors are talking to them, they're probably going to beat us. You know,
Hmm.
but when they get the typical wholesaler shakedown, and get reduced and dropped and spit out, they probably remember that we're an actual buyer. Like
Hmm.
so.
What do you guys do to separate yourselves? Like so that people know that you're an actual buyer, so you can hopefully.
I mean, for the people that understand, we'll give a 0 day due diligence. You know,
Sure.
I mean, not many of these people do understand that. I wish they did.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty serious. Commitment. Um, you know, occasionally, like we'll be talking to somebody, and then they go under contract with the wholesaler, and we've been telling them, you know, like, hey, whoever you're talking to is probably going to bring it to us and try to sell it to us. You know, just so you know. And then like that happens, and then we're like, hey, here it is. They're trying to sell it to us. You know, like for a lot more. So we're not gonna pay this. So let me know when they don't execute. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'd never go around somebody who like on a lead that like we didn't have before, but on a lead we have had and have been working. You just got to do
It's fair game.
it. Yeah, it's fair game for sure.
Yeah.
Um, Especially when I'm paying your memorandums off all the time.
Fair enough.
I actually just remembered that you had one. That was definitely not pointed at you.
No, that's fine. No, I didn't think it was pointing at me. I was gonna close. I was gonna close on that house. That's why there was a memorandum on there.
Oh my gosh,
I was
man!
buying it, but yeah, that was a
Yeah,
great.
no, that's really funny. I totally didn't even think about that.
It was a stab.
Yeah, no.
No, that's cool.
Oh, oh my god, that's funny.
What
Yeah,
so you do like I know we were talking like at lunch that time. I mean, you do St. Johns County, and I think you do Putnam, and then like a couple others, right? Or
yeah, Clay, Duval.
like
I mean, yeah, we were talking about how like our marketing in Duval has just. I mean,
yeah,
for the people listening outside of the area of Duval, you probably know what Duval is. I mean, it's huge. There's just tons of investors there. I mean, people from across the country are just all over it. Um, haven't done well there really at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and there's not a whole lot of mobile homes there really either. Um, there's some, and we've done a dozen probably. Um, but yeah, like generally kind of the more rural areas. Yeah, started
And then
branching out like even further actually too.
really, how far are
Yeah,
you guys going now?
I mean we like closed on one today, like in Fort White, which is like
Hmm.
out there. Like
I
yeah,
don't
you
even know
never
where that
even
is.
heard of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably like 3 hours. You know,
Whoa.
yeah. So we'll send a crew over there to like stay there until it's done.
Okay. That's what I was gonna ask is how do you get that
Yeah.
done? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably pay a contractor to do that, but you're really going to pay, you know,
Yeah.
and like having our people in house, like we'll find somebody that's willing to do it.
Yeah. And then you
So
just get a place where they can stay or whatever and just
yeah,
hammer it
or
out.
even stay. Like I think the house is in good shape, so they might even be able to stay there.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah,
It's got windows.
yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see. I haven't been to it, so yeah, definitely
Gotcha.
buying a lot of stuff like sight unseen lately.
Really? Huh. So
Yeah.
are you just making offers on it on the phone or you're just
Well, I mean, sight unseen for myself.
oh
Like
for
my
yourself. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, typically I would go to something in the past, but now, I mean, it would be too much, to
Yeah.
do it. So I mean, going off of pictures from our guys, um,
Mhm.
which I mean, in essence, is the same thing as like a wholesaler's pictures. You know, um, it is. I mean, like my guys are probably not able to like I don't know give me like super great insight on what
Sure.
exactly the property needs. You know,
Yeah.
um, so
It's all about the price though, right? To a degree.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely interesting to think about like doing, strictly over the phone um, sales. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, we pick up some really good deals that we really never go to. Because the price is good enough that like we don't really need to go there. You know,
Yeah.
um, so definitely something I've like contemplated because your good salespeople are out there like, you know, on the road. Like that's just a lot of wasted time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we were talking like a month or so ago about, you were thinking about building out your sales team more. Like, how has that been coming along?
It's not bad. I'm like kind of a perfectionist, so I don't think I'll ever be like super satisfied with it. Um, but it's good. You know, we've got a new AM, and um,
Nice.
the AM that I've had is training him. Um, and I mean that's amazing for me,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And to see that, I mean, I think the kid got his first deal today, like a week in. I think he just started making offers this week, and he got a deal. So, um, I mean, who knows how much of it has to do with you know actually his sales skills. You know
Wait
what I
till the
mean?
second one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like that's another thing that's tough. Like with this is like you know it could be a deal even if you're like speaking a different language sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, everyone gets a lucky one once in a while. Sometimes those are the best.
Yeah, yeah.
Or they say, if you give me
What,
this, I'll give it to
what's your opinion on that? I mean, do you think like when you're in front of the person, like if it's going to be a deal, like it seems like so many times it's like as long as we're there, like it's going to be a deal no matter what you say.
you. I think 90% of your salespeople could get, if they were in person, could get the layups,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
The problem is, if you don't, first of all, if you don't have someone great on the phone, you won't go to half the appointments that you should have gone to. But a person who is like a top 5% salesperson will get 40% more deals across the finish line at better numbers.
Yeah, at better numbers is
At
definitely
better
the,
and at better
yeah,
numbers, for
yeah.
sure.
That's where I see the like in person being like super beneficial is like it may have been a deal, but we probably got it for a lot better of a deal by being there.
Well, I think too, like people just, it doesn't make sense to a lot of, and this is my perspective, and I've bought houses on the phone, but I just think there's a lot less resistance to going to see the house in person for someone who actually wants to sell. Because
Yeah,
in their mind, how can you buy a house without seeing it? In most people's mind, that seems kind of like you're already having to overcome a hurdle. It's not like a good salesperson can't overcome that, but you're
yeah,
starting at a disadvantage. Also, I can get them to rule out any phone offer in about 3 seconds when I'm there. That offer doesn't isn't real. I'm like, oh, cool. Like over the phone, how does that work?
yeah,
They're just like,
exactly.
I don't know. I'm like, I don't know either. That's really weird. And they're
Yeah,
like, yeah, okay, well, what can you do? You're here. I mean, let's, you seem serious. I'm like, yeah, like, I like to see properties because I'm serious. And they're like, oh, okay. Like,
yeah,
this is like, you know, if the guy's serious, just tell him to come over.
yeah, for sure.
So I don't know. That's how I look at it. And there's a lot of people they want to work with someone like that they can trust, and there's a lot of trust by meeting someone in person, shaking their hand, even if you're not the best salesperson.
Right.
So I don't know. That's my take on it. I'm crazy passionate about the sales stuff, so I could go on this all day long,
No,
but this is your podcast, not mine. So
yeah, no, I think like it's definitely a very interesting answer because I mean I know that like yeah, like somebody like you or me with the experience like could be out there just absolutely crushing it, you
yeah.
know. Um,
How did you find your newest guy?
oh, I think. Oh, you know what? This is an interesting one. He cold called me from another job. So he was
I've,
work.
I've done this. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. Like he cold called me. He was working for a lender. Um,
Ah, nice.
and like basically like Kiavi competitor, like lending to flippers. And
Hmm.
like he was good on the phone, and I was like, we at first I was like kind of just like dismissive, like regretting picking up the phone, like, yeah, yeah. Okay,
Hmm.
so tell me what's different here. I'm interested, and like he did well with the objections and stuff. And then like I could tell he was doing well, so I threw a couple more at him. And then
Hmm.
into the call we were actually talking, and I was like, hey man, I don't know if this is a recorded line or not, but you know, and then he ended up hitting me up, and we went to an in-person interview, and there he is.
And he actually he was a local guy. He happened to be local.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, he worked at a restaurant that me and my girlfriend met at.
Huh.
Yeah, definitely some interesting connections. So,
Yeah. Well, that's a
yeah.
good way to find someone, man. If they could sell you and you could throw it at
Right.
them and they could take it, right? Man, he's already passed the first round. That's
It,
great.
I mean, yeah, exactly. You know, yeah.
Um, for the for the people listening who like maybe don't know as much about like, mobile homes, anything different about flipping a mobile home versus single family?
You don't have to permit anything.
I can edit that out later.
What's up?
You want me to edit that out later?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
No, you really don't. I mean, you really don't have to permit anything.
Oh, you don't? It's actually like
Yeah, I'm serious.
oh, like
Yeah.
you're allowed to not because why? Because it's not a
Yeah, I mean,
permanent
it's a
structure.
vehicle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, even if the title is retired, like, I mean, there is an option to pull a roof permit, for example, or like there is an option to pull a permit for an AC unit.
Hmm.
But like the only thing that like it really is not required whatsoever.
I
Um,
didn't realize that. Okay.
yeah, I mean the only thing that you're really required to pull a permit for is like a well, you
Sure.
know, an electric panel, like
Hmm.
septic. I mean, the really major things, but like in terms of actually on a house, like of normal permitting stuff, there's nothing.
Huh.
Uh, yeah.
What else should people know if they want to flip a mobile home?
Oh man, it's a lot more expensive than you would think. I mean, you know, as opposed to like a normal house on a slab, like if you're used to flipping houses, if you're used to flipping stuff that like is not above grade, you know, there's going to be issues that you've never seen before, for sure.
Hmm.
You know, um,
Like what
naturally they're less expensive to fix. I mean, because you can get up under there. Um, Mobile home tie downs are like always something that comes up, you know, and it's pretty expensive,
hmm
to be a repairless item. It could be 4 or 5 grand. Um, and most mobile homes are on septic, which is a major issue too. I mean, like I would suggest to people, to find somebody you actually trust. That's ideally a plumbing company that's not a septic company to do your septic inspection ahead of time and give it to the buyer. Because if you're in the process of a sale and a septic company comes out to inspect, they just see money signs, to say it failed for this reason, and then if you want the sale to go through, you got to replace it. Um, and they're going to rip you with a 15K plus bill probably.
Yeah. So you guys get a plumbing company to go out and inspect it for you ahead
Yeah,
of time, every time. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it's not even like doing anything like shady on the side. Like
Yeah.
it's legitimately like I don't trust anybody that's a septic company, and like in our inspection period, we don't have control over who they use for the inspection. So at least even if they don't take our inspection, we have something to say like, hey, this is like it's fine. Like it really is. This guy's trying to sell you a new system.
Right.
And like that's ended up saving to where like we didn't have to replace it, or we didn't have to give a credit for the full amount, you know.
Hmm. Yeah.
So we only had to give a credit for 5K, just kind of like settling the debate as opposed to 15 to like just replace the whole thing. Um, so there's a lot of stuff that has come up, just like flipping that you learn from
Yeah. Any other big points people should know that are maybe a little unique to mobile
mobile
homes?
home.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that stuff's. I guess the tie downs. I mean, nothing really jumping out. I mean, yeah,
How do you guys handle like, because insurance is difficult in mobile homes. It's the issue
yeah,
we've run into before because we've done do quite a few mobile home flips. Curious how you guys handle that.
like insuring on our side.
Yeah, like builder's risk policy.
Yeah, I just recently found a guy that's um, like a bulk policy, like a master blanket policy, which you may be interested in this if it's pretty sweet. Um, yeah, no kickbacks on my end, I promise.
You can have a kickback. I'll pay for that. That's a good
Yeah,
deal.
no, yeah, like for the blanket policy for builder's risk, it's sweet. Like there was an issue with it before where I'd have like our lenders basically like our private lenders agree to no insurance. Like, hey, we're self insuring this because literally, I'll show you the numbers on paper. What we have to pay in insurance, I can pay for two total losses at the end of the year. You know,
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, really. And with what we've got now, I mean, it ends up being like cheap, like $1,000 or less, for per flip.
With this
Um,
master blanket policy.
yeah. I mean,
Oh, that's
it's like
great.
a
Yeah.
perfect. It's like a per square foot price. Where like typically you're going to be paying 3-4 grand probably for every flip in mobile home insurance, and like we're under 1,000 probably now. Um,
Yeah.
it's interesting how the policy works. Um, it doesn't include liability, so you got to have a separate liability policy. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, this is something that my girlfriend's definitely helped with.
Yeah.
Uh, she was in insurance before, and um, yeah, has helped a little cover my ass type of thing as we've grown a little bit. It's
Yeah.
it's, it's scary to think about the liability you got, like having
Yeah.
all this stuff going on. So we've definitely been working on that lately to just in the event that something does happen.
Yeah. I had a mobile home that we bought. It's a while ago. It's like a year and a half ago, and they gave me an insurance policy on it at closing. Luckily, I owned it cash, and then
Oh, they just canceled it right
a month
away.
a month later, they just canceled it.
Oh yeah,
And I was like, "Oh, what do you need me to fix so you don't cancel it?" They're like, "Oh, we're just canceling." I was like, "Oh, thanks."
yeah,
Like, that's funny.
yeah. I mean that'd be great for if you have a hard money lender, you know.
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
exactly. Then you're in
like,
trouble.
yeah. Um, yeah, recently had like a lender try to put me on their master policy,
Hmm.
and it was legit 7 grand for the year.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, wow, like these guys are cleaning up. I need to be in that business. You know?
Yeah, how many of these end up being losses, right? It's just like insurance for what? Like,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So
yeah. So where do you see the yourself taking the business over the next 3 years?
it's a great question, man. Um, more new construction is definitely the goal.
Mm,
Um, you know, my goal is definitely to start like at least a couple before the end of the year of those and just see how they go.
like
Um,
home, like single families or more
yeah,
mobile homes on? Okay.
yeah, because build to rent is just so good. Also,
Hmm.
like I definitely would like to have more rentals. It's just like having the quality of house that I want to have. Um, like everything that I've got is 2000 or newer currently, um, and really I wouldn't want to go outside of that. Um, so yeah, I mean, build to sell, build to rent. Maybe end up doing some development stuff. I mean, definitely been looking at land, but for the flipping business, just continue like a healthy rate of growth. I mean, um, as long as it doesn't grow like too fast, it's relatively comfortable to do it. That
Mm.
um, yeah, I mean, it's definitely growing fast. Like right now, um, on track to be probably double revenue of last year.
Wow.
Yeah,
What what do you attribute that to?
just increase marketing and put some effort into trying to find more money. You know, um, like at this point, we've got it down to a pretty good science of like finding more crews, and like our
Mm,
crews have continually gotten better and faster. So we're able to just naturally handle more stuff now.
okay.
Um, you know, one crew that I've got could probably do 15 full rehabs in a year.
Oh,
Um,
that's a lot. Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a lot. They're like freaking beasts. Um, so and as time goes on, I think more of them will be able to do that type of numbers, type of speed. We've pretty much got two crews like that are at that level of production now,
Yeah.
and then three more that are pretty good. They could probably do about 10 a year.
Yeah. So what does your business look like now in terms of, I mean, I know the construction side you've talked about a lot, but like other people who work for you.
Yeah. So two lead managers, two acquisition managers, which has recently changed. Just brought on each lead manager and acquisition manager new.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like we talked about this before, and
Yeah.
like I really appreciate what we talked about at lunch that one day. Um, so yeah, I mean, hopefully get some accountability here, like get some more consistency, and just be able to rip marketing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not afraid to spend it on marketing and just kind of see where we can go with it. Um, yeah.
Are you still sticking to only the like niche type lists or court lists, or have you expanded out?
Yeah, I mean, you have to expand more. I mean, there's only so many that you can hit. Even if you're sequencing it out, like it's just not that much. So yeah, having to hit some of that like more broad spectrum stuff, and really haven't got that clicking super well yet.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what works there. Um, it worked in the past, but I don't know. I mean, I just have kind of done the same thing for a long time now.
Mhm.
Of every couple months, like throw in something more broad, and other than that, just kind of hitting niche stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's always kind of like how well can you dial in like that high value data. Um,
Mm.
yeah.
Cool. Just so people aren't left like wondering what this mysterious thing that we talked about at lunch is, you want to just tell everyone because you kind of like dropped the cliffhanger right there.
That's funny. Yeah, did
It
somebody
wasn't
comment
crazy,
about
guys,
it?
by the way, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, really, we just talked about like if you have one of each role, like there's no accountability, there's no like basis. It's just kind of like we're going off of that one person's like historical data and numbers, and no competition, and really they get everything. Like like as it like the nature of the business is there's going to be a decent bit of laydowns, and they can eat and do very well just off of the laydowns and not have to work stuff hard. So um, by having more people, those are split up and you're forced to actually grind it out.
Yeah, for sure. How'd you
Which
find the sec? Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Didn't mean to cut you
No, I
off.
mean, which is like kind of embarrassing that that's how it was. I mean, like with that team, we're still just like cranking really good numbers with just one and one. Um, but at the same time, kind of like, damn, like we're at this point and like still have this fundamental of an issue. Um,
Yeah.
you know, so where did I find him? The AM was, what we were talking
Yeah.
about off the cold call. The other person was a referral from our from the LM that I've had.
Dude, you're all about the referrals, man. Like the
Yeah,
construction crew, everything. I mean, that seems like you built your business on the back of referrals, which is awesome. I mean,
I never even really thought about that, but yeah, pretty much. Um,
yeah.
like the first AM, the first actually the lead manager that I've had came from the Yellowbird group.
Hmm.
Um, it came from actually Yellowbird when they kind of let everybody go. She came on with me. Um, And the only person that I really hired from one of those like job boards is the AM that we've got right now.
Yeah. Oh, the original or
Yeah,
first.
the first. Yeah, I mean, definitely not the first, but
Okay, fair. Yeah.
yeah,
The first it worked
there
out.
were many before that,
Yeah. That would be fair.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
But like thinking about historically, I mean, I've had one girl that was with me for a while who was really good. I think I found her from a job board. Um, And then obviously we've got VAs. I mean, like
Yeah.
I've got one that's my assistant, and she's like really good. She's
Mm.
doing TC stuff, which it was another thing that you helped me realize. It's absolutely ridiculous for me to be doing TC stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean that's just nuts. So I've been training her on that, and it's helping a lot.
Yeah.
Um, so
Man. Yeah, that stuff. People never realize how hard that gig is. Like, there's so many things that go on.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like I don't know. Like, do you come across like what percentage of your deals have like some kind of title issue?
Hmm, 40, maybe 30, 40. A
Yeah,
good amount. Like,
yeah,
and maybe not something major, but something still got to be called,
yeah,
gone after, whatever, right?
yeah. We've just gotten smashed lately with issues. You know,
Hmm.
like I mean, I could show you my board right now, and it's like bad, like 70, 80% of what we've got right
Oh,
now. Yeah, and it's like really hung stuff up. Um, yeah, definitely a
yeah,
struggle there.
yeah.
Really never had any like significant issues like that in the past, and then we just got slammed with them.
You hitting some different weird lists, or people who are super stacked people can sometimes be the title issues. There's a reason
That's
why
it.
on 7 lists.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah, the mistake there for sure. You
yeah,
know, code violations and
yeah,
gosh, like
yeah.
one of them is like we have a purchase price of $7,500 for a trailer that like basically the whole back half of it's burnt off, um, and code violations $195,000,
Yeah,
and it's like okay, we'll probably get that released to like or
yeah,
reduced to like 1,200.
yeah, yeah.
So
What would you say like your unique ability is in the business?
probably underwriting.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, I mean, that's like really important because like where that like you may be wondering like where does that come from? I've
Hmm.
lost money on one deal, period. Um, so making sure that our average spread's like really good. Um,
Yeah,
not really something we've talked about here, but like I definitely go by the principle that like if we're doing a deal, it needs to really be worth it. You know, um, so like I don't know what the average flippers um, profit is, but we're up there.
yeah, yeah. I heard someone. It was Alex Rose actually a long time ago. I think you probably met him. He told
Yeah.
me he told me one time this thing stuck with me. He says I try not to make deals work. I was like, that's a good
Yes.
way to think about it. That is a great way to think.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah,
100%. They need to sell themselves. Um, yeah, for sure. And I know like anytime like an AM or like somebody's trying to tell me something about like, oh, it's a great neighborhood. Get out of here, man. Like I don't want to hear anything about that. Oh,
oh,
it's
that's
one of
lots
them.
nicer than the house next door. Oh, not that much nicer though. Like,
Yeah, really. Yeah.
yeah. And maybe the house next door sold on a VA loan, so that number's not
Yeah.
real that it sold for, right? I mean,
Oh man, we've been on our flips, man. And so many VA offers recently. I think
yeah,
I told you this before, but it's continued. You know,
us too.
um,
Yeah,
like the VA 3-4% credit. It's
zero
like,
percent down.
yeah, oh
Yeah,
yeah, I know, and it's like you're really getting like 4% back. Like they're seriously gonna have $0 out of pocket to close this deal,
yeah,
and like it's literally the money they have into this is their inspections,
yeah, yep.
and they may even get credited back for that at closing.
Yeah. You ever do any single wide flips, or do you run into issues on that in the backside with financing?
No, I mean I actually done pretty well on a couple of those.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah,
We never done one.
surprisingly, we've had some like this year. We've had some cash offers on mobile homes to sell. Um,
Yeah.
that's always nice.
Is the financing the same on the back end for a single wide, as long as it's like, not super crazy old?
Yeah, pretty similar.
Okay.
Um, I think it's harder for them to find something. I don't know what. I don't know if it's harder to qualify. I mean, I haven't seen like really. We haven't done enough to see like a proportion of like how many of them fall out. You know.
Yeah.
compared to like double wides. Um, yeah, I mean, I can't really answer that.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, we're getting close to the end, and there's always two questions I like to ask at the end, and the first is kind of fun. So, what is the craziest or most uncomfortable situation that you have ever experienced in a real estate deal?
Okay, in real estate,
I clarified. Yep.
yeah, especially there, right? Yeah. Um, oh man, the craziest. I mean, I would say probably this one property that like probably it was probably one of the first properties that my girlfriend came to with me when we were, um, like for an acquisition appointment. We were just hanging out, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna go check this out. An area that we, very familiar with, done plenty of flips out there, whatever. We show up to the house, and I mean, this lady had mentioned something about like she's got dogs, you know, and like whatever, like I'm not scared by dogs or anything like that. Um, and so we show up and knock on the front door. It takes her probably 5-10 minutes to come to the door. Heard her yell from the inside, like, "Hey, I'm coming. Just hang on." And then she comes, opens the door. She's like, "Hey, I'm sorry. I'm just getting the dogs together." I'm like, "What?" Like, okay, yeah, no problem. I mean, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about the dogs." I'm like, okay, we're here. We like dogs, you know. And she's talking about the smell and like, that's like her only focus. So we go in, come in the front door, and like first thing to the left we look at is probably like in a double wide, literally like a big double wide, like the whole front room there is full of like baby Yorkies. Probably like 50 to 75 baby
Oh,
Yorkies, and so that was stunning enough, right? And from there, she's like, "Yeah, we can't go in these rooms, over here because they're just too full of Yorkies." And then, yeah,
it's all
yeah,
Yorkies, all of them are
yes,
Yorkies.
all of them.
Oh my God,
And
like 100 grand in Yorkies.
the smell was insane, dude. Like so strong. And long story short, every room we go into, there's probably another 30 to 50 Yorkies. So this lady's literally got like hundreds of Yorkies in this double wide, and I definitely understood why she was concerned about the dogs. You know, um,
Did she say the house?
so oh yeah, I bought it, and it,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
came with the lot next door, and I mean it ended up being a 6-figure deal overall. But the house, like we planned on rehabbing it, but the smell was seriously too bad. Like we would have had to rip out all the subfloor, all the drywall to get it out. You know,
Oh man.
so we ended up cleaning it out and like trying to paint it and literally like rolling bleach on the floor and the walls and like nothing, you know? And so we ended up selling it like as is because like we're not going to go this far with it. Um, so
Wow.
yeah, I mean, made money on the house and then basically got the lot for free next door and put a new trailer on it. And yeah, it's great.
There you go.
Yeah. So
Cool.
yeah,
That's being interesting, particularly because they were all Yorkies. That just makes it more insane for some reason
oh
to me.
yeah, and they were yeah. I mean, just what you'd think, little baby 5 pound Yorkies probably.
Um, so the last question I always ask is, if you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice when you were looking for your first deal, knowing what you know now, what would you tell yourself?
Mm. I probably would. I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what I would change about it. I mean, I guess the only thing that I probably would change is like buy stuff sooner. You know,
Mm,
um,
that's a good advice. Yeah.
yeah, probably buy stuff sooner. I mean, yeah. I mean, and just keep at it. I mean, don't get discouraged. I didn't really get discouraged. So, um, yeah.
Cool. Well, Jacob, if people want to reach out to you after the show, if they have questions or, maybe they have a mobile home they want to sell you, how can they go about
Bring
reaching
them.
out?
Yeah. I mean, I'm on Facebook, Jacob Klein, Kline, probably be spelled out somewhere here, and also on Instagram, J Klein something REI. I think it's underscore. I don't know. I don't know this stuff, man. I'm not an. Oh,
You
there
put
it
it up.
is.
It's underscore
Yeah.
REI. Luisa just put it on the
Okay.
screen.
I'm not an influencer, man. I'm sorry, but yeah, bring
No
me
course,
bring
no
me
course
your
going on
trailers.
thing.
Yeah. If you don't bring them to Mike, bring them to me. But you probably should bring them to Mike if you listen to this on a regular
No, you can
basis.
you man, Jacob. We don't do Putnam County, so send the Putnam ones to him.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Yeah. Hey,
Cool, man.
man,
Well,
this is great.
yeah.
Really good conversation for sure.
Thanks for being on the show, man. It was awesome.
Absolutely.